Hey there, so I'm going to show you in this video how you can host a simple static website on Alibaba Cloud OSS. In a previous video, I explained how you can host a simple static site using Amazon's S3. The procedure is fairly similar. However, Alibaba Cloud DNS doesn't work the same way as Amazon's Route 53. There's no concept of an alias record, so there's no way to point directly at an Alibaba Cloud internal service using Alibaba Cloud's DNS. Instead, you just configure a traditional CNAME that points at the public URL for your bucket. There's no way to configure an A record that points at your bucket like you could do on Amazon. However, the advantage of using a CNAME to point at your bucket is that your bucket doesn't need to have the same name as your website's domain or URL. So if your website is something like mysite.com, you do not need to own the bucket mysite.com. Any bucket will work. And you can see here I have a simple bucket called JDP test site. Later you'll see that this is not the name of the website that I'm binding to this bucket. Alright, so I need to put a simple static site into the bucket. It's empty right now. So we can do that through the command line. So I'll go ahead and do aliyun OSS copy. I want to copy everything in this public directory for my static site up into JDP test site, and I want to do that recursively. In case you're wondering how I built my static website, I use the static website generator Hugo, which I cover in another video. Alright, let's go ahead and take a look and make sure those files are there. Alright, great. It looks like everything is there. We can now go over to basic settings. We'll need to make the bucket public in order for this to work. So I'll click public and hit continue, and then hit save, and you'll see the ACL will change to public read. I then need to say what the home page and error page are for my bucket. If you go back and look at the static site, I have an index.html and a 404, so that's my home page and my error page respectively. Hit save. My website's now ready to host in this bucket. If you want, at this point, you can go to the overview and get the public link for your bucket, the public domain name, and open that in a new tab and make sure that your site's showing up, which you can see that it is. Alright, so now all I need to do is go over here to the domain names tab and associate a domain name here. This is actually pretty easy to do for me because my domain name is registered with Alibaba Cloud. So all I do is I click bind self-hosted domain name, and I say, let's see, I say code then win, which is the name of my site. Add a CNAME record automatically. That will automatically add a record to the DNS entries in the Alibaba Cloud DNS console. And then I will click, oops, it looks like that domain is currently bound to another one of your buckets. Each domain can only be bound to a single bucket. Uh-oh. Well, let's go figure that out. Actually, the reason is I had previously used this bucket here to host a static site. So what I need to do is actually remove these two records. So I go to the binding configuration and I click unbind. And then I do that on the binding configuration here next to the www code then win, and I click unbind there. And actually this is a separate step from what you would do in the DNS console, so that's important to know. You can only, if you have a DNS entry set up that points to bucket A, you cannot also have that domain name point to bucket B. There's no easy way to do round robin between buckets like that. Alright, so now that I've unbound my domain name from Let's Learn HK, I can go back to JDP test site and bind self-hosted domain name. We'll have the system take care of doing the binding for me. I will again also bind www and submit. And now that that is configured, I should be good to go. I should be able to visit this site once the DNS records begin to propagate. If you want, we can also go look in the DNS console, and some records for the site should appear there under my code then win domain. So let's go find that. I've got a few domains registered here. Code then win. There it is. And here we go. There's two records in here. They look good. Let's try to visit our site and see what happens. Fingers crossed this is already propagated. It can take some time. But yes, it looks good. It looks like it's completely working. And if we want, we don't even need to open the Alibaba Cloud DNS console. We just do all the setup from this domain name binding page here, and Alibaba Cloud takes care of the rest. That's one of the advantages of having your domain name registered with Alibaba Cloud. It's in fact a little bit faster and easier to do this setup than it would be on Amazon. And you, of course, if you want, you can see how the name is resolving here. You can see that code then win is a CNAME pointing at the bucket, and our static site is up and working. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you learned something. And if you're looking for a place to host a simple static site, Alibaba Cloud is a pretty good choice. It's cheap and it's easy to set up. And as you can see in the console, you can also even do more advanced stuff like upload a HTTPS, an SSL certificate, or automatically enable the Alibaba Cloud CDN, which I will cover later in a different video. All right, that's all for now.